Do you understand? Imagine paying more attention to a witch than Gabor. I'm sorry. I love Gabor Mate. I think he's brilliant. I think he's very thoughtful, but we agree on everything. And also, he is not the Speaker Emerita of the American Congress, okay? Or the American House of Representatives. You know, we got to move on to continue coverage on things that are happening currently. Gabor Mate was on Theo Vaughn. Holy, that's crazy. That's dope. That's actually sick. The real interesting part is at 108. Also, Gabor Mate got the reformist Iranian presidential fit going, and he's got the HasanAbi ring game. Respect. He's got it both, dude. Isn't this Aaron's dad? Gabor Mate is the father of Aaron and his other, Daniel. Aaron and Daniel's dad. Daniel is a co-host of the Bad Hasbara podcast alongside Matt Lieb, and Aaron is a journalist. I need your thoughts on Max Blumenthal. I am not going to talk about Max Blumenthal right now. Get the out of here. I am not interested in having a conversation about Max Blumenthal because for all the insane that he's done, for all of the insane that he has done over like especially the end of the Trump administration, all the nonsense. Gray Zone has done a pretty decent job in covering all the stuff that pertains to Israel. He is, I don't necessarily care to comment on any of the things that he is saying. Air released a mini documentary on IDF videos proving that civilians can give you time to check this out. Sure, we can look at it. Air is great. Don't let Gray Zone talk about anything else, though. Sure, that's fine. That's not. I don't disagree with that statement. Yeah, unless someone is like directly, because of like overt, like Candace Owens. I don't. I'm not gonna fault people too much. I haven't watched a Gabor clip that I had pulled up. Yes, because you're gonna be watching a 3-minute ad break right now. Okay, that's it. Because at the top of the hour, there is a 3-minute ad break coming for you, and it is an avoidable ad break. It is one that you can avoid by subscribing, okay? However, if you don't have a Twitch Prime, you might be cooked. Just kidding. You can get gifted a sub. Here's the 3-minute ad break now.
Such terrible things as the children are experiencing right now with the daily and all this kind of stuff. What can they think? That there's something wrong with me.
Oh, imagine some kid over there and looking up and there's they think, man, I'm so horrible. I deserve to be.
Well, you know what? There was a study done of guys and children.
Man, that's crazy. I hadn't thought about that. Like, really imagine that, though.
There was a study done of children in Palestine 21 years ago. And 95%, this is long before the current horrors, long before October the 7th, long before the aftermath of October the 7th. 95% of those kids showed traumatic symptoms. High percent.
For people that don't know, Gabor Mate, for the record, is a very prominent Jewish doctor who has written extensively about, I believe, trauma, right? And he also, of course, happens to be a survivor. So before people are, just so you understand, trauma and addiction are the two things that he's written extensively about, I believe. Like that's his most formative, most important work. But beyond that, of course, he himself is not only a survivor, but I believe was an early Zionist who very quickly recognized that this was a movement, much like many Jews, okay, who, were around during the time of the, including but not limited to Albert Einstein, and has been an outspoken ever since. Interesting that this video doesn't have the Wikipedia page underneath it, as opposed to my video with Asmongold getting hit with that explainer that goes to the Wikipedia page. I'm sure they talked about that here. Interesting. Gabor got so much hate for his article about a lot of people having a little in their heads. It was such a good article because it speaks on what you maybe spoke about in the past, that everybody has a little that they have to off. Oh yeah. Yeah, that was really interesting that people were on Twitter. People yell at anybody for anything. Okay. People were yelling at a survivor for writing an article about how like everyone has a little bit of a inside of them that they have to combat with regular frequency. They were like, not me, sweaty. Speak for yourself. He was a baby during the founding of Israel in 47, born in 44. Yes, I know. And in his early years, he talked about being a Zionist, if I'm not mistaken, and very quickly recognized, oh, never mind, this sucks. This sucks pretty bad. He probably saw the invention of Israeli EDM and was like, I'm out. As a teenager, he encountered the first version of Israeli techno and was like, not for me, sir. A nation state project that creates such a heinous display is not one that is interested in advancing humanity. He said, not in my name. He said, I've written extensively about childhood trauma, but no one could recreate the childhood trauma that I experienced when Israel invented their version of EDM. Truly a
percentage with their beds, like you and I did.
Is because studies have been described as comparison, which is then called minimization, and then denial. So I think your Anne Frank comparison got you the Wikipedia tag. Yeah, Anne Frank obviously was a victim of which is me saying that another victim of who is a survivor of is similar is not a ridiculous comparison. Okay, it is not to minimize at all. There is no reason to study specifically if you are not going to learn lessons from it and then apply them to ongoing right now. The entire purpose of never again means never again for anybody, not never again just for Jewish people. That's ridiculous, and you will never find a historian that agrees with that principle. I see you there, you lurking weirdo chatter trying to spin with Hasan and saying it's in real time. Yeah.
They expressed aggression, their parents. They had panic, anxiety, fears. Can you imagine what's going to happen to that generation?
Years from now?
Years from now. I mean, it just breaks my heart every
He said it's like we're watching Auschwitz on TikTok and he can appeal to it given his own experience.
day when I think about it.
Interesting that didn't get the YouTube markers in the way that I did.
And for any kids,
I know a lot of my fellow Jews don't agree with me, but as a Jewish person, I'm not the only one who feels that way. It especially breaks my heart.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, when you put it in that sense, that a kid, imagine a kid like, because what are they going to think? They don't know. They just think, man, something's so wrong with me. I deserve to be, or something. I don't know. Yeah.
It depends if the adults are able to hold them and keep them feeling loved. But 19,000 kids have been orphaned. And when I say orphaned, I don't mean just that their parents their extended families have been wiped out.
Why are you saying this video not getting the tag is interesting? Because a lot of these institutions still participate in Islamophobia, which is internalized and baked into every institution. And when you got a dude named Hasan talking about the victim of who also happens to be Muslim in Yemen, when the overarching position is that like they kind of deserve it, you're gonna get slapped with a misinformation sticker. That's the difference.
What's going to be the future of those kids? And
not that it matters.
It's just
like I personally don't give a if they slap it with the marker. I did bring it up, and I'm glad that people are going to the Wikipedia to read about hopefully they're doing this.
Just a terrible.
No, it's heartbreaking. I mean, it feels like it's going on over there, and you don't know what to do. It's like, I mean, you can pray, you can speak up about it. And I know that there's like a more political aspects of it. And we've had different people come on to talk about Israel and Palestine on here. And it was very knowledgeable for a lot of our listeners because you hear about it a lot, but you don't know the history and everything. But
well, I've been there. I went there 2.5 years ago to work with Palestinian women.
Most people thought you were saying that was what Israel was doing, not about the Yemenis. It's just ignorance. Yeah, except Israel is doing it in as well. So even if they misunderstood my point, it does not matter because it would still stand. Also, the Yemeni teen is not the only survivor that I have had on this broadcast. I had Motaz Aziza, who is also a survivor. He is a survivor of Israel. Okay?
In Israeli jails.
Wow.
And they had post-traumatic stress disorder. I've seen it with my own eyes. And who's the black American writer? Ta-Nehisi Coates?
Ta-Nehisi Coates?
Yeah. He just written a new book and he talks about visiting Palestine. And he says, yeah, Ta-Nehisi quotes, yeah. In his new book, he says, once you go there and see it, you can't unsee it. You know, and
yeah, our media doesn't
I'm
cover
the
it
same
super
way.
fairly.
Yeah.
I feel like our media doesn't cover it super fairly. That'd be
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's fine. He's got the energy. It's in the right place. He's interviewing Gabor Mate, a very prominent. We will never be able to understand the harm. We live in the lap of luxury. We will never be able to comprehend the traumas that children go through. Gabor's story is actually really fascinating because he speaks directly on how the psychological impact of surviving drew him closer to the Zionist narrative of these so-called new strong Jews who were no longer ashamed. He read a terrible book, by the way, called Exodus by Leon Uris, and was instantly sucked in. It was actually the experience of seeing international media cover the Vietnam that made him question Zionism. I'm working to try to get Ta-Nehisi on, but you have to understand, these guys are not very online. And like, he has no clue. From what I understand, he has no clue what Twitch is, who I am. Like, he has no idea. So I've reached out directly to people that he talks to on a regular basis. Has Theo asked you to come on? No. Anyway, let's continue. White House pushes restraint in Israel's response to Iran.
To retaliate for Iran's barrage earlier this month, White House trying to prevent the situation from spiraling into all-out. Foreign correspondent James Longman is on the scene in Lebanon. Good morning, James.
Yeah, good morning, George. I'm at the site of another Israeli here in Lebanon. Take a look. This was a family home. 16 people of one family were here. We're told a three-story building just reduced. But we are up in the mountains here in Lebanon. This is traditionally a place of safety in this country. Nowhere feels safe anymore. We're told some 25% of Lebanon is now under evacuation orders by the Israelis. That's according to the United Nations. This is as this region braces for Israel's response to Iran's October 1st, where it fired some 180 at Israel. ABC understands that Israel has been receptive to the Biden administration's arguments for restraint, i.e. not hitting oil or sites inside Iran. But Israel has been very clear that they will make their own decision. This is as the United States is still sending that advanced defense system to Israel, along with
what you're making fun of is basically what happened with Avi Shlaim when he was on the program with two idiots. Mike Graham boots emeritus professor at Oxford University and Avi Shlaim off his show after he denied that it was occurring on campuses and claimed Israel's not a democracy. Avi, Israel's a regime. Mike, you are denying the truth. It's so funny to say that to Avi Shlaim. Like, come on, dude. Come on. Like, yeah, I get why you could yell at a dude named Hasan if he were to say such things, but his name is Avi Shlaim. Like, that should clue you in, okay? Avi Shlaim, for the record, is, of course, a fantastic historian. He's one of the new historians. He's one of the new historians that wrote specifically about, he is an Iraqi Jew, and wrote specifically about like Israel's campaigns in, like Mossad's campaigns in Iraq. And you know, again, wild to look at a guy like Avi Shlaim and be like, sweetie, I think maybe I know more about Israel than you do. Maybe I know more about anti-Semitism than you do. I mean, he lived in Israel, didn't he? Isn't this the guy who said you can grow concrete?
Morning,
yes.
Mike.
Yes. What a mythical pull it is. Yeah, he is Israeli. He grew up at a time when, like, I think Arab Jews, like Iraqi Jews, Mizrahi Jews, were facing a ton more from broader Israeli society too.
Troops to man it. And we're also watching the situation it's truly going from bad to worse. There was a hospital which was hit and a fire broke out in a tent encampment. Truly horrific scenes there. And in the north, people tell us there that they feel they're under siege. They've been cut off from food, from water, from medical supplies, all in an effort, they say, to force them from their homes. Michael?
All right, James, thank you so much for that.
Speaker Pelosi, welcome back to our program.
Wonderful to be here. Thank you.
Let me ask you first, before we get to your book, about current affairs. We've just had this terrible report about the Israelis and Lebanon. Now, as they continue their counteroffensives, we've seen on UN peacekeepers in Lebanon, and we've seen over the weekend some pretty dire on refugee camp, on various areas that dozens have been, including children. I just wonder your response to that, given America is the most important ally.
Well, the fact is that we just a few days ago observed a one-year anniversary of a terrible assault on Israel by a group dedicated to the destruction of Israel. Sadly, since then, we've seen many casualties of non-combatants, children and families, and now some elsewhere in the region. And it's just intolerable. We cannot, war has to be outlawed as a resolution of any conflict or disagreement. But right now, we have to live with the circumstances that we have. We've all been talking about a two-state solution for a long time.
When your goat is washed, yeah, it's intolerable, but thank God they have the tolerance for it. You know what I mean? They just always find a way to tolerate it.
Time for Israel and for the Palestinians.
Do you guys understand why for months and months I was very critical of Bernie Sanders for acting like history started on October 7? Like, do you understand why? Because it's false. It's not the truth. And beyond the fact that it's not the truth, it serves a very important propagandistic purpose, okay? The purpose of it is to basically make it seem like did something that is truly heinous out of nowhere. That's it. Like, they started it. They were the reason why Israel is doing what it's doing right now. If you recognize history starting on October 7, then yeah, you think like, okay, maybe Israel has gone a little bit overboard in its retaliation, but like started it, it causes you to basically refuse to recognize that what Israel is doing right now is just a continuation, an acceleration of what it has been doing for 76 years. The second lie is that Israel does not have a right to defend itself in the way that it is defending itself, in air quotes, in or Lebanon. But especially Israel is a belligerent occupier of, it is a territory that it controls with military occupation. It does not have a right to defend itself. It doesn't work like that. It is a direct of the rules. There is no defensive. So those are two pivotal ways in which many of these people have basically repackaged what Israel is doing as like, it's kind of permissible, but like maybe they're going a little overboard. Like, no, the occupation is illegal. And that's not just my analysis. That is the analysis of every single human rights organization, and also recently reiterated by the International Court of Justice.
The current leader in Israel does not agree to that, even though for about 30 years, since like 93, we have been talking about that. I don't know if Netanyahu wants peace. I don't know if he's capable of peace. I don't know if he's afraid of peace. But he has gone off the course that we all thought we were in.
I don't know why I got nude for asking a genuine question about your podcast partner on YouTube, calling himself the Z word on Instagram. It's because he's not my podcast partner. And that's it. That's why you got, and there's no reason to bring it up.
As we support Israel.
He actually came to the Congress not so long ago. What did you make of that invitation and the way he spoke against your party and your administration?
Well, it wasn't his first time to do that. He came before. The invitation was misrepresented. It wasn't bipartisan, but the speaker said it was, and so he showed up and spoke against President Obama, whose masterful, virtuoso initiative for the Iran agreement was remarkable. He came and spoke against our president and our Congress. It was terrible. It was disgraceful. This speech that...
Yeah, it was disgraceful. Yeah, I hated it so much that instead of giving $25 billion, we only gave $20 billion. That'll surely stop them. Okay? Do you understand? Imagine paying more attention to a witch than Gabor. I'm sorry. I love Gabor Mate. I think he's brilliant. I think he's very thoughtful. But we agree on everything. And also, he is not the Speaker Emerita of the American Congress, okay? Or the American House of Representatives. You know, we got to move on to continue coverage on things that are happening currently.
He made recently, I thought, was the worst presentation ever made by a leader of a country invited to speak before the Congress. I was against the...
Look at all the Dems clapping too, you cackling hyenas. Also, Obama gave $30 billion after Netanyahu did that stunt. Yup. Number one Jew hater, by the way, Barack Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Yeah. Hates the Jewish state. He hates the Jewish state and hates the Jews. Everyone knows Barack Obama, Barack Hussein Obama, hated the Jewish state so much that he only gave us $30 billion.
The invitation, but I'm not the speaker anymore. And of course, I did not attend, but I did.
What Nick thinks of you?
Who in your eyes is like Barack?
Hasan?
No!
So in your eyes...
Well, he says that, but he means it in a nice way. Most Americans don't view Barack Obama in the way that I view Barack Obama. Like, I don't think he means like I'm a that would have exploded a Doctors Without Borders hospital in Kunduz, okay? That's not what he means, chat. Calm down. He's not saying I would extrajudiciously an American citizen with a targeted, okay? He's not saying that I'd be the deportation king, despite running a very progressive campaign. He's not saying that I would lie to the American public about closing Guantanamo Bay only to say, guess what? We're not going to do that. He's not saying that I would never prosecute former administrations and saying we must look and pussy too. Yeah, I think he means I can ball like Barack Obama.
It's Barack Obama, Hasan Piker.
But if Hasan didn't stream?
Gotcha. So name another one.
I think he means hot political men.
Observe what he had to say. It was most unfortunate. But you know, we all support Israel. It is in our national interest, our security interest to do.
Yeah. We have to, guys. It is in our interest.
So our values interest to do so over time. But right now, the leverage that we have given Netanyahu has been used in a way that is most destructive.
Would you say right now, and we speak in the context of an election that all foreign powers and leaders are watching very closely, not only yourselves in the United States, would you say right now America should be using its leverage? And if so, what is that leverage?
Well, our support for Israel has always been bipartisan, and we want it to continue to be so in the Congress, in the House and Senate, the White House, as well as among the American people. But it does not give license to so many people dying, not combatants, as I said. So we have to, again, try to strive to bring it to a two-state solution. I emphasize the word solution because I've said that to Netanyahu. It's not just a two-state situation. It's a solution, one that really works out the security, the prosperity, the freedom for the Palestinian people, as well as the security of the Israelis.
And given that there's an election, are you concerned by the very, very difficult polling for Kamala Harris, particularly regarding Arab Americans, particularly in the swing state of Michigan?
Yeah. Well, it is something to be considered. When we talk about this subject, people forget. They forget them instituted by this president. One of the first things he did...
By President Donald Trump.
By Donald Trump. One of the first things he did in his presidency was to have Democrats flock to their protection. This is what Donald Trump did. And now, because of this situation, which, again, Joe Biden has been a friend of Israel, that's for sure, but he has also been a friend of the Palestinians.
Maybe he's been too friendly to Israel, you know what I mean? Maybe he's been too good of a friend, you know? A real friend tells you when you're doing wrong, okay? The below are my personal thoughts and do not reflect my employer, any company or person I'm affiliated with. Hello, everyone. As many of you, some comments were made by Zach yesterday about Palestinians and Muslims. Before I address his comments, I'd like to take this opportunity to share some details about my background in hopes that those reading this post may better understand who I am, where I come from, and what those comments mean to me. For the record, for those of you who don't know, he's going to describe that he is you know what? Tips is the like co-owner and co-founder of OTK. That's why I kept repeating to Asmongold yesterday. I was like, dude, talk to Tips. Like, I can't believe you're saying this because, you know, your comments directly are like, you know, on him personally. He's Muslim. As many of you some comments were made by Zach yesterday about Palestinians and Muslims. 34 years ago, I was fortunate enough to be born in the United States of America, a blessing and a lottery ticket that I thank God for every day. My parents my parents, Syrian immigrants from Damascus, came to the U.S. in the 70s/80s at a time when the likes of Hafez and Rifat al-Assad were massacring tens of thousands of their own people in Hama. The sole reason I exist today can be attributed to the words of one of my father's neighbors who informed my late grandmother that my father's friends had just been arrested for political dissent and that the Mukhabart were coming for him next. Quick on her feet, my grandmother, God Almighty grant mercy on her soul, grabbed my 22-year-old father and with tears in her eyes, shaved off his beard and sent him to Jordan, hoping he would make it out. With the help of a few friends and at a time when many thought Syria was a wheaty breakfast consumed with my milk, my dad was one of the few Syrians lucky enough to be granted passage to America. To that we say, Alhamdulillah. Thank God. At some point in the mid-'80s, my father, then working as an engineer in Los Angeles, was serendipitously reunited with one of his childhood neighbors and schoolmates in Chicago, Illinois. Yeah, that's the CIA or FBI, I assume, right? The Mukhabart. This man would become my uncle, as his sister, my mother, would marry my father soon after. In typical immigrant fashion, they wasted no time, and my siblings and I were born. Growing up in the early 90s, it was clear that we weren't your stereotypical American family. After all, we were Muslims. Headscarves, no pork, 5 daily prayers, and so on. We dressed conservatively, packed foreign foods in our lunches, and spoke with thick accents until grade school. Yet, strangely enough, I cannot recall a single moment in those early years where I felt different. Yes, our swim trunks could have been less goofy, and explaining what zatar was to kids at school was a thing. But despite all that, we were just another American family in Southern California, navigating life and seeking out the coveted dream. Then 9/11 happened. For those that may have been too young to remember, September 11th was not simply a moment or a day. It was a monumental shift in thought and discourse. People were horrified, confused, but above all, angry. In a famous incident, popular radio host Stern called for the entire Middle East to be nuked. Them all. And his opinion was not uncommon, from school teachers to store clerks, politicians to celebrities, liberals to conservatives. One thing was on everyone's mind. We got to get them. But who was them? Surely the perpetrators who planned the thousands of innocent people in the process and changing the landscape of modern humanity. However, to some, them had a much broader definition. And that some grew, by the way. That some virtually became all. One of the least understood aspects of this was the local aftermath, specifically the experiences of Americans who could be perceived as Arab passing. It didn't matter if you were Persian, Indian, South Asian, or even Latino. If you were within a certain shade of beige and had a 3+ syllable last name, you were a sand N-word that had to be dealt with. Many religious minorities were also caught in the crossfire, with Sikhs, Hindus, Sephardic Jews, Arab Christians, and others receiving a significant share of the vitriol. Acts of wanton violence became commonplace. House of worships were burned down, and random people you knew from your community were being locked up, with some never heard from again. Never forget, the first victim of hate was a Sikh man in, I believe, Texas. He was not Muslim. He was Sikh. And the guy walked into a bar, and specifically because he thought that, or Arizona, not Texas, I thought Wisconsin. Yeah, he was wearing a turban. But how could this happen? How could such a monumental shift in attitude and behavior occur in the greatest country to ever exist? The same country that opened its arms wide to the tired and the poor and not once made us feel less than any other American. Truly, to be born American is an undeniable blessing. And despite our governance, I would gladly give my life to this country and the people that have given me and my family a chance. The reason behind such a substantial shift in attitude cannot be attributed to a single moment or event. Rather, it was the accumulation of decades and decades of subtle media propaganda designed to produce an other, so that the powerful can continue to prey on the angry and divided powerless. It is a tale as old as time, transcending region and geography, national lines and civilizations, a governance strategy deployed all throughout the history to keep us, the people, at odds. It is this same calculated dehumanization that has led to some of the most heinous and bloody massacres whose horrors we do not utter aloud. To many who heard Zach's comments, the language he used, whether intended or not, reeked of the same dehumanization that plagued their ancestors, their grandparents, and in some cases their families today. It is the same language used to justify wanton genocide and the destruction of our universal brotherhood. It is the same language used to brush off a video of a Palestinian woman and a child burning alive as a price of... I'm not writing this post to defend the dignity of the Palestinians suffering. The dignity does not require defense. It is a right. To those who have supported the humanitarian efforts and self-determination of the Palestinian people and all the oppressed around the globe, thank you. To those brave enough to look beyond their own anger and reach out to their Jewish friends and their neighbors, thank you. These are trying times that will test us all. Zach's comments may have been the impetus for this post, but if there's one thing I hope to convey in my incoherence, it is this. I desperately plead to all those reading to wake up to the forces around you that wish nothing more than to separate you from your fellow man and conquer your hearts, your minds, and your humanity. HasanAbi is a little bitch. Nice, man. Thanks. Those that wish for you to look upon your school teachers, store clerks, and neighbors as them, for they are not them, they are you, born to different circumstances, no doubt, but they are you nonetheless. Open your skin and take a look for yourself. We all bleed the same blood, share the same dreams, and will one day rot in the same earth until our bones have long become dust, and the differences in our beings will be no thicker than air. Please, for the love of all that is holy and good, look out for yourselves and those around you. And if you ever feel the urge and anger to reduce your fellow man to anything less than yourself, ask aloud, who benefits? Thank you for taking the time to read this. I'll be spending most of my upcoming time working behind the scenes to ensure our staff and teams are all right, and the OTK continues to grow into the place I know it can be. In the meantime, peace. I'm not reading all that, bro. Nice. A nice message, but did they fire him? No. So the person who wrote this is, again, Tips, who is like one of the co-founders of OTK, the organization that Asmongold is also a co-founder of and a co-owner of. Like, he is one of the most important people in OTK. He's a good dude. Stop hating all Jews, Hasan. There ain't no way this person is being for real right now, right? Started it. Oh my God. It's not bait. It's a person who like legitimately thinks that I hate Jewish people, all Jews, as a matter of fact. Are you okay? You are making everyone hate Jews? Walk through the steps. Not everyone is Zionist. Wait, when have I ever said all Jews are Zionists? If you can point to a singular instance where I have ever said that Jews are Zionists, I will give you, all Jews are Zionists, I will give you $1 million. No edits. Just straight up. Okay, it's the way you talk, you do. My friend, I don't know if you know this, but I say the exact opposite of that every single day, including today. I fear that I'm going to be as charitable as possible to you and say that I fear you are making a mistake. There's never been a moment where I've ever said that, because I do not believe that. Because that is a lie, okay? Not only do I not believe that, but I regularly say the exact opposite of that. I don't know how anyone has even clip-chimped me to make someone like this believe something that I completely disagree with. Okay, well, all this is making kids go to college, scared to go to college because of all this. It's not you, it's everyone. Okay, let's walk through this. What do you mean, all this? What is the this there? Think. What is the this? What all of this? What is all of this? Think and answer clearly. When you say all of this, what's happening in great, okay? So you understand it. What do you think is happening in? Do you think it's a genocide? Do you agree that it is a genocide? Because 40,000 plus directly by Israeli munitions and hundreds of thousands or under the rubble, damn near 2.5 million displaced, is not just a this, right? It is the actions of a state, the Israeli state. You understand that, correct? It's horrible, yes, but being Jewish in college is scary for them. So do you understand what you're saying? So you recognize the atrocious behavior of the Israeli state, and your concern in this circumstance is that Jewish college kids in the United States of America are scared. Walk through the steps real quick, especially taking a deep breath and reminding yourself that Jewish college kids are also at the forefront of anti-Zionist demonstrations on college campuses. You will then be reminded that, one, Israel is not representative of all Jews, okay, which is something that you made seem like I advocate for, but I advocate for the exact opposite because it's not true. You will also understand that anti-Zionist Jews are at the forefront of anti-Zionist protests on said college campuses and have been arrested, including but not limited to members of this community, okay? And last but not least, you are placing the concerns of kids going. It started the day the people at the concert, they fought back. Israel went too far, I agree. What started the day the people at the concert? How can you be this fucking far off base? Israel's on a good day when it's not doing genocide. Okay? It did not start on October 7. History did not start on October 7. The fighting with did not start on October 7 either. I know, but this is not this is a genocide. Now, I hope you understand a couple things. One, Israel is not interested in the maintenance and safety of Jews even in Israel, let alone the Jews that are held hostage, and let alone the Jews that are currently living in Tel Aviv, and especially not interested in the safety and security of Jews living in the Western world. Okay? They're simply not. Look no further than Benjamin Netanyahu's own personal statements and lack of interest in dealing with a ceasefire negotiation. Benjamin Netanyahu only wants to use the hostages as a reason to conduct this genocide. Okay? You said earlier that you are Ukrainian before you started off with stop hating all Jews. Will you recognize that you were wrong for saying that I don't hate any single Jew? It's ridiculous. Zionism is a political ideology built around the ideals of developing a nation state for one ethnic group, and considering that the area was previously occupied by others, it requires a constant maintenance that is masqueraded as a demographic concern. It is inherently, okay? If Zionism is a political ideology, what about Sharia? Sharia would be not even a political ideology, but a application of religious doctrine only pushed by some of the worst fundamentalists, and it is not in the interest remotely of the broader Islamic world. You are literally talking to a Muslim from Turkey. There is no Sharia law in Turkey. I understand, Hasan. I'm not talking one-to-one with you. I despise him. I am Ukrainian. If you're Ukrainian, you should be understanding of the plight of the Palestinians more than anyone else. It's kind of weird. Anyway, not talking one-to-one, but started off a bit hot saying that. Yeah, you started off saying, which is a lie, a gross lie. Then you said you're making everyone hate Jews, which is also another gross lie. Every single day for the past 12 months, as Israel has conducted its genocide, every single day, I have told off numerous chatters that come in here, haters, and even confused chatters alike, that come in here and apply Zionism or Israel's actions and claim that it is being done at the behest of all Jews. I rail against them on a regular basis, and I even ban them. Okay? Applying Sharia to the entire world of Islam is like the most common trope, claiming that like all Jews abide by the Talmud. Okay? Or whatever your understanding of the Talmud is. There is no difference. It's a very easy way to figure out that someone is being, just like whenever I hear someone bring up the Talmud when speaking about Jews and the way that they maintain their affairs or conduct themselves, I immediately know I'm talking to or maybe someone who's Korean. And in that case, they would be philo-Semitic. I probably shouldn't be joking in this situation. Okay, it's not you. I'm not always here. It's what's going on. The hatred is too much lately. Thank you. Okay, so now you're reading what's happening is you're arguing against Israel, and Israel's arguing is doing everything for Jews. So normies think you're arguing against Jews. Yeah, but it's stupid because the normies also will say, normies will also turn around and say, Israel's not representative of all Jews. So which is it? Like, I don't agree with that statement. Normies literally find themselves in this weird inconsistency where they claim that, like, as a defensive posture, oh, you can't criticize Zionism. You're using that as a substitute for Jews. Okay, which is not the case. But then they'll also say all Jews believe in Zionism. So anyway, let's continue.
Palestinians. And even before October 7th, when we were meeting our September 30th deadline for the budget, I was going to the Republicans and asking for refugees. They said, we'll give you that as long as it's not used for the Palestinians. So the fact that she would be paying a price is for policies that were very pro-Palestinian is really sad. But it is sad, and that is being reflected. I'm not sure it's all spontaneous. Some of it is spontaneous. It's grassroots. It's truly that. I think some of it is motivated for other reasons.